Travolting presents The Fraser's Edge, hosted by Jeff Sweeney and Stuart Elmore, covering Batgirl, with special guest Mark Tilley. Who are you?
I'm Batman.
And I'm Batgirl. I was hoping you would say Batgirl.
Batgirl.
Okay, yeah,
Have you been a good Batgirl?
Yeah. I'm not going to do a Batgirl voice.
How good of a Batgirl have you been?
Oh my god. No.
Sorry, I'm just reiterating a scene of the movie.
Yes. a scene in the movie, of course.
No.
Yes.
No, I was
folks,
kidding about that one.
Welcome back to Travolting Presents The Fraser's Edge, covering the films of Brendan Fraser from beginning to end. This week we're talking about the 2023 release, Batgirl, a movie that you've all definitely seen. I'm kidding, of course. Because as we know, this movie has a troubled production cycle that we're going to talk about. First, I'd just like to welcome back Mark Tilley to the show.
Oh, lovely to be here.
Yeah, thank you for coming in.
It's a great movie.
Talk about this movie, Batgirl.
Honored to talk about it.
And thank you for listening to our episode last week on The Whale. I'm sure that was a good one. We haven't recorded that yet. We're doing a little out of order right now. But we hope you enjoyed it. And now we get to talk about Fraser's kind of... in the chronology of this movie, it's not a follow-up to The Whale.
Right.
But in terms of us watching and talking about it, it is a follow-up to The Whale.
Mm-hmm.
And this all kind of comes out... We talked about this a bit in our No Sudden Move episode. But Fraser kind of... During 2020, when the world shut down, there's a bit of a renaissance in people kind of rediscovering their love for Brendan and communicating that on social media. A lot of people are rewatching The Mummy. They're rewatching George of the Jungle during shutdown because these are comfort movies, first and foremost. And it kind of reignites this passion that people have had for, the work of Brendan Fraser. And people are like, what happened to him? Why hasn't he been working? And it's through that, during COVID, he gets cast in No Sudden Move. Shortly after COVID, in January of 2021, he's cast in The Whale, which will prove to be, very momentous for him, as we talked about. And he also gets cast in Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon around the same time. And finally, he gets cast in Batgirl, the motion picture spinoff to the DC Extended Universe, starring Sasha Calle. Actually, no, that's Supergirl. Starring Leslie Grace as Batgirl, Barbara Gordon. So this movie does have an interesting production cycle, as we talked about.
Yeah.
If we want to delve into the context corner a little bit. So this movie...
This is all new. I don't know any of this stuff.
This is news to you?
I don't. Yeah.
You just watched the movie.
Yeah.
You were just raw dogging this.
Yeah.
Very good.
I know they pushed it back a couple times. But
Yeah,
did
a few
it have some
times.
hiccups?
Yeah. Well, you could say that.
Sure.
So this movie is originally announced in 2016 to be directed and written by Joss Whedon.
Rough.
Who, after various allegations...
That sounds like a movie they would have canceled or
Yes.
pulled the plug on.
Yes.
They would have never released that movie. There's
Yeah.
no way they could have released that movie.
Yeah, that movie would never get
a movie
released.
that doesn't get released. Yeah.
Yeah.
He gets removed from the project in 2018. The official story is he leaves the movie because he can't come up with a story. In spite of, having years of him saying, I would love to make a Batgirl movie. I have the story for it. Clearly, he is removed from the project.
Interesting.
After Justice League's failure, which he helps, co-write and co-direct after Zack Snyder leaves the movie. And so he's removed from Batgirl in a time of change for DC. DC is a very complicated, thing to talk about because they keep going through different studio executives and plans for this universe that they've been trying to put together since 2013. But, Warner Brothers, the idea of a Batgirl movie is still there, and Batman movies are always making money. And so they're not willing to, give up on the project. So they hire Christina Hodson to write the movie after Whedon drops out. She had just written Birds of Prey for them, which is a pretty good movie. I'm very pro Birds of Prey.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Are we pro Birds of Prey in this house?
Yeah.
I have
it
not
makes
seen
sense.
Birds of Prey.
Good movie.
It's an excellent movie. Story you should watch.
It's very good. But she is also writing the Flash movie, which Warner Brothers is seeing as a way to kind of reset this complicated universe that they have built for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the run of DC movies at this point is Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, Justice League, Aquaman, Shazam. I'm seeing if I can do this off the top of my head. Shazam, Birds of Prey, The Suicide Squad.
Yeah, and then the Flash comes out after the Suicide
Yeah,
Squad.
and then
Where
there's
does Peacekeeper come into play?
Peacekeeper comes in after The Suicide Squad.
Peacemaker, friends.
Or
Peacemaker.
Sorry. Whoops.
Peacemaker.
Whoops.
He doesn't keep it, he
Making and
makes it.
keeping is completely different business.
Yeah. Keeping the peace versus making the peace. Yes. Black Adam?
Black Adam, we can't forget.
Yeah.
Black Adam comes out
20
month after the Flash. Like it's very close. Those movies coming out
A few months before.
a few months before the
Yeah.
Flash. Okay.
And so Christina Hodson writes this movie after she finishes writing The Flash. And The Flash, like I said, is their way of kind of resetting the clock. The idea being that Ezra Miller, notoriously unproblematic person, is going to travel back in time, and then when he comes back, the ripple effects of what he's done can change the DC universe. They can recast some characters. Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill are looking for a way out of the universe at this point. So they can recast them with Supergirl and a new Batman. They're talking about who do they want this new Batman to be.
It's a good thing that the Flash was a huge hit because if people hadn't seen the Flash last year, like this movie would make no fucking sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that movie had flopped, this movie would be like so hard to follow.
Yeah.
because you'd just be like, who the
What
fuck
is going on
Michael
here?
Keaton in this movie? Like, how is this working?
And
So good for Warner Brothers. They had a big smash hit on their hands.
yes, The Flash, major success.
Yeah.
And so they, she writes The Flash and she writes Batgirl, and Warner Bros. Is like, we're going to go ahead with this. The big twist in The Flash, which they announce ahead of time,
Yeah.
is that Michael Keaton is going to be in the movie as Batman. And at the end of the movie, they're going to reset the universe with Michael Keaton as the new DCEU Batman, writing Ben Affleck out of the process.
Jesus Christ.
And they're like, and so because Hodson had just written The Flash, when she goes to write Batgirl, she's writing it with that ending of The Flash in her mind.
Yeah.
And so she goes and she writes Batgirl with Michael Keaton appearing in it as Batman.
Yeah.
Um,
And they reset it in Flash. It makes sense.
yeah,
Like,
it makes perfect sense at the end of The Flash.
Yeah.
I've
seen both movies, which is how I can follow that.
yes.
I don't. Yeah.
And so the movie is made. It's directed by Adil El Arbi and Bilal Fallah. I'm sorry if I butchered those
Bill
names.
Alfala, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, Bill and Fallah.
Adil and Bilal.
Yeah, Adil and Bilal, who had just made Bad Boys for Life.
For life.
Which is such a good movie.
It's a great
I
movie.
love Bad Boys for Life.
It's a shame to lock down into these DC movies from now on.
Forever.
They have like 2 in the pipe. It's crazy. Yeah.
Well, Mark, you might be shocked with what I'm going to tell you next.
What?
Because as you remember, I sent you a link to watch this movie. So
It's funny. I'd already seen the movie. I was like, Jeff, I've already seen the movie.
and so
A-list member, Jeff. But thanks to the link, though, because, I hate those, VOD rentals.
Yeah.
They stack up on you.
Mark, I think you might have come from an alternate dimension,
Yeah.
What?
much like Michael Keaton.
Yeah, I think something's not right here.
I mean, I saw a giant floating head in my bedroom this morning, but I don't know what that has to do with. Never mind. Okay, cool.
Wait, who?
What?
What fed did you
There's
see?
a red giant head was in my bedroom, and he was screaming at me. I thought it was a dream, but this could explain.
Did it look like Ezra Miller, perchance? Was
Was
he like, Mark, you must find us?
I don't know.
Well, the reason why we're confused, Mark, is because of what came after with Batgirl.
Interesting.
So they direct this movie, and when they're going to cast the movie, the script calls for the villain to be Firefly.
Yeah.
They originally try and pursue Sylvester Stallone for this role. He turns them down. But he does appear in The Suicide Squad as King Shark. So he's not totally lost.
Not totally lost.
So instead they turn...
You guys would have had to cover this movie twice then, because on Stallone Zone.
Yeah,
your
when we
guys'
did
podcast,
Stallone Zone.
You guys cover. Yeah.
and so... and so...
I
when,
was the 5 timers on Stallone Zone as well. All right.
What the fuck?
and so They turn to what is big in the zeitgeist at the time, and there's the Renaissance. Brendan Fraser is back.
Yeah.
And they cast him as Firefly in this movie.
Yes, they do.
They filmed the entire movie, which stars Leslie Grace as Batgirl, J.K. Simmons as James Gordon, reprising his role from the from Justice League. Sorry.
Yeah.
And also Zack Snyder's Justice League, because we must remember there are 2 Justice League movies.
There are 2 Justice League movies.
Brendan Fraser as Firefly, Jacob Sciopio as Anthony Bresci, a mob boss, Michael Keaton as Batman, and then Ivory Aquino as a bartender.
Yeah.
That is the listed build cast of this movie. They filmed the movie, and then it's just kind of through the process of post-production, it kind of goes through this in and out version, because it's originally made to be an HBO Max movie.
Mm-hmm.
In April of 2022, when Warner Media merges with Discovery, there's conversation about removing it from HBO Max and putting it in theaters.
Which is how I saw it the first time.
Sure.
Yeah. Dolby surround sound.
What are you talking about, Mark?
Dolby surround sound. It's not Dolby. Dolby digital.
Jeff, we gotta I'm
gonna get to them.
All right, no, we'll come back.
It's gonna cost them $70 million more to put it in theaters. And then in August of 2022, the shoe drops. David Zaslav takes over control of Warner Brothers, and he appoints
that guy's in jail. I don't know what you're talking about. How did you?
And he appoints
sorry, continue.
James Gunn and Peter Safran to run DC a few months later.
What?
Instead of Zack Snyder.
That's crazy.
Is this news to you?
Yes. Oh
Whoa,
my
this
gosh.
is crazy.
Sorry, I plugged it up on my phone. I'm trying to read an article about it. Here you go.
And the movie is, they're we're going to change everything. We're going to reboot the entirety of DC. We're not going to continue with this universe that they're trying to do with your Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck, Michael Keaton, Gal Gadot, all these characters. We're going to reset the whole thing.
Nuke it.
We're going to
Oppenheimer
nuke
style.
it and rebuild.
Yeah.
And that does involve them canceling this movie.
That's already been shot.
Been
through a lot of post-production.
Basically ready to release.
I read something that
You're floored?
They weren't.
They know about this?
They didn't finish some of the VFX and some scene editing, but they might have done that later.
What year is it? What year is
It's
it?
2023.
It's 2023, Mark.
This is not clicking. Okay. Sorry.
And so they cancel the movie. They do not tell the directors.
Did you not tell the cast?
The directors find out in the press.
Yeah, the New York Post article.
Yeah, one of them is on his honeymoon at the time.
Fuck.
These two had quit directing Beverly Hills Cop 4 to make this movie. They had delayed Bad Boys 4 its production to make this movie. And the movie is canceled. Unceremoniously.
Damn it.
They attempt to log in to Warner Brothers Vault, to the online system.
It's a whole break-in.
To try and save the movie just so that they can have it.
We're
and they find that it's
and
gone.
everything.
They find that it's gone from their connection. It has been locked deeper up in the Warner Brothers studio system.
They punch the CEO.
Yeah.
Where's the copy?
And Stuart, you and I had this on the docket for a while. It's always been that we were going to cover Batgirl because obviously Brendan's in it.
That's right.
Mark has always been slated to be the guest for it.
That's right.
And then we were like, well, what do we do? And initially I was just like, let's still just talk about it. We can talk about the production of the movie just to kind of give some hope.
Until a week ago.
Yeah, until a week ago, I get an email. And the email headline is BATGIRL.exe. It comes from, I cannot say.
The file you sent me.
Yes. I cannot say.
I'm pretty sure it was a phony email, but we also should just not say what the email was.
I can't say it is. All I'm going to say is that the email I got it from is name.name@name.com. And I can't say who it was from. He swore me to secrecy. If I was going to talk about this. But
we are,
folks,
we are kind of putting a target on our backs by even talking about this.
I'm here to tell you, folks, we have seen Batgirl.
I've seen it 3 times.
Mark has seen it 3 times.
I watched it again this morning.
Stuart and I have only seen it once.
The second time I saw it was just standard laser.
Standard laser projection.
We watched it together, actually.
Mark might be from an alternate dimension, which might be what's going on.
I have questions, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. And so, folks, we're here to talk about not just the creation of Batgirl, but we're here to talk about the movie itself.
The movie that we have seen.
Yes, and no one else has. So we're going to be kind of describing this plot to you.
As thoroughly as possible.
Plot
point by plot point by plot point. We got at least 90 to get through.
So that we can spread the word that these guys, we can spread the word of the movie that that was ripped from these guys' arms.
And ladies and gentlemen, you were robbed.
Yes. Maybe the best DC movie. Like, it's like this
fucking robbed.
Dark Knight.
Why this isn't even like protested even more?
And it's so crazy that how much, like, this must have been a $300 million movie.
But on Wikipedia it says 90. But I don't believe
that's totally Hollywood accounting.
It's totally Hollywood accounting.
It's total hogwash.
But I
didn't really care for the
must
movie
be
myself.
you didn't care for it?
No, I didn't care
Listen,
for it.
with the DC community,
Hack shit,
you
I thought.
DC community, you are the same folks who pushed a major conglomerate movie company to release the Snyder Cut of Justice League. You are the same community, but Marvel version, that made Mobius come out a second time.
I don't know about no Snyder Cut. What's up with that?
I beseech you that if you could see what Jeff, myself, and Mark 3 times has seen,
I did 120 domestic. I have no idea what's going on.
You need to protest even more, because when I say, for all those folks who had their dream DC movie yet robbed after Man of Steel, after Batman v Superman, after Justice League, and after failure after failure, Batgirl, they stick the landing.
They do.
They stick the landing.
It revived the DCU as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for Spike Jonze Animal Man next year.
I mean, I'll go see
you
that.
You guys seen that teaser?
I have not, no.
Somewhere over the rainbow? Guys. I'll show it to you afterwards. Let's see if my phone still works here.
Well, Mark, I think you're from an alternate.
I don't know. Okay, let's just keep trucking on. Jesus. All right. We all watched the same cut of the movie, I'm pretty sure, right?
I think so.
We'll
kind of figure it out
we'll
as
make
we
sure
go
it was
through.
the same
Yeah,
version. Yeah, okay.
we'll make sure.
Okay, we'll make sure it's the same version. Fine.
All right. So, movie starts off. And it does, we're looking at, a cloudy sky.
Yeah.
And you hear, and the Batman logo appears. And it's the Michael Keaton logo. And you're like, all right, here we go. And then a new theme comes in.
Yeah.
It kind of sounds like,
Yeah, as far as I remembered, it was bum 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 bum.
Yes. Because a little logo appears next to the Batman logo.
It's so small.
Yeah, it's really small.
I know.
It's in fact comically small.
And so as the camera's looking at the signal in the sky, it then tilts down. And the classic shot where it tilts down and you see like the caped crusader like with the leg up on like overlooking the city that normally is Batman, except it's not Batman.
It's Batgirl.
It's Batgirl.
And it's our first look at Leslie Grace in the costume.
And it's a good costume.
I would say it's pretty impressive. It's like above CW quality.
Yes.
Which is like my kind of standard for DC stuff.
Yeah.
Mark, what does he say in this scene? I'm actually struggling to remember what Batman says.
As far as I remember, the opening scene, it starts with it pans down from the sky. We get the big Batman logo up in the sky, and then this tiny little Batgirl thing, and it's revealed that Leslie Grace has a little flashlight. She doesn't have a huge, giant sort of like torch thing on top of the building. She's got a little flashlight that projects a little Batgirl symbol.
Yeah,
and she's holding it over her shoulder, and she's like waiting for Batman to show up. And she drops the Batgirl logo from the flashlight, and she turns it off, and she puts it into sort of her belt, and she goes, "Fuck."
This movie is hard R.
Well, it front loads its PG-13, which I thought was revolutionary. The first word is "fuck."
Oh,
and it gets it right out of the way.
Because the rest of the movie is
they
PG-13,
dropped its
right?
PG-13 fuck, and she goes, "Fuck."
It's gonna be interesting though when we talk about like. The break into Act 3 scene, but we'll get to that later.
No. This is what it was. So it was the pan down from the sky, the Batman logo, boom, boom, bum, 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 and then flashlight, and then they just go, and then they turn the Batman logo off, and it's just her little flashlight symbol on the sky, and she goes, fuck. Because it's like, Batman's there, and then she's like, oh, I'll come help too, whatever. But because she's self-promoting herself as Batgirl, it's like, they're just like, oh, fuck, actually, never mind. And she's like, it's this really sort of cool way to start this sort of like street level hero who doesn't have all the sort of like gadgets and stuff like that. Like she's kind of running everything out of her belt. She doesn't have no cave. Everything she makes herself.
Yeah, because
It's super cool.
it's very interesting you even say that, because then afterwards she says, fuck, Batman's not coming, and she's trying to wait for the next gig that she can introduce herself and bring herself to pretty much her idol, her hero at this point.
Yeah.
So instead she okay, I guess it's another night of just my own thing.
Yeah.
Leaps off the building, and you think, oh, this is gonna be the Batarang, like gonna be something. It's actually like some hemp rope and a grappling hook. Because you're right, but it starts off immediately saying that like this isn't like Bruce Wayne Batman. This is like Batgirl,
She's
who
relatable though. Like,
right,
this is
she's
how you have to
relatable.
make it
She's
yourself.
making it work.
She's got this dirt bike. She like painted it purple. She like zip lines down. She gets on the bike. She can't even like get it to start.
Yeah.
She's like, a second fuck.
They get away with it. They get away with it.
Maybe this is why they canceled the movie. She couldn't stop saying fuck.
She just can't stop herself.
right, yeah.
They were like, get her to stop saying fuck. We're gonna cancel the fucking movie.
And then we hear the dee dee doo 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 doo, and that's like her earpiece.
Beep, 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 beep.
Try not to do the Kim Possible. It wasn't Kim
It's
Possible.
Kim Possible backwards.
It's like
But
close.
it's close to Kim Possible. But you hear it's like Batgirl. There appears to be a wretched fire over on 57th and Damon.
And it's funny because we think we recognize this voice.
Yeah.
It's someone else from the DC like sphere,
Batgirl.
but you can't quite tell who it is yet.
I know.
It sounds really familiar though.
Yeah, and so she's like, on it. I'm on my way. She starts the bike again, a couple more tries, and then she's like, fuck it, and she just runs.
Yeah, she leaves the bike.
And then we get the really dramatic cut to a car like speeding down a road, and there's these two criminals in it, and they're like, he's on the roof, and they're firing shotguns through the roof.
Yeah.
We pan up quickly. Michael Keaton's Batman is on top of this car, just punching in the
Laying
ceiling.
it in. The action is so kinetic. It's got they shot it with all these like GoPros.
Yeah.
like they did back in Bad Boys.
There's so many GoPro shots in this movie, and you love to see it. It's
know
like
it.
almost entirely shot on GoPro.
This is my favorite is when she does get the Batarangs later, and she picks it up, and it's just like her throwing a GoPro at this guy, and that's how they filmed the shot. It's so fucking cool.
It was
anyway.
so
We'll get to it. We'll
cool.
get to it. We'll get to it.
Yeah, but she's running to the burning building.
Yeah, and some people might know about how this scene goes because there were some set photos that leaked of Michael Keaton's Batman in the aftermath of the fight scene.
Yeah.
That ensues.
Yeah, and so she gets to the building, and it's very akin to like Spider-Man 2, where it's like a burning building. There's people stuck inside, and Batman's busy dealing with this other fight scene happening earlier.
Yeah.
Commissioner Gordon, J.K. Simmons, is there with his unit, and he's like talking to the first responders and folks, and he's like, we got to get more people out. Like, there's still some folks inside. And so then Cape Crusader, Batgirl, she knows this is her moment. So she runs in. Problem is like, I was surprised that her cape wasn't fireproof.
Yeah.
Like, were you guys like shocked?
Yeah, it was-
Immediately gets in, the cape starts like roasting up a little bit, but she's like, ow, ow. She's trying to like dance around the flames.
Yeah.
And then she finds like a family of three, like a mom, a dad, and a little girl hiding in a closet in a room full of flames. And she like almost like Alien pulling apart the door style, but just like in her own way, like pushes the closet door open. It's like, I'm Batgirl, I'm here to save you. And they're just like, who? Because they
don't know who Batgirl
They don't know who Batgirl is. They know who Batman is.
This movie is this is an origin story for the image of Batgirl, not because she starts in costume.
And I forget what resolves from that. I know she opens the closet. I just can't remember the details of like how that all like resolved though. If you guys remember, like.
Yeah, so she grabs the kids and she like jumps out.
There's
the window.
one kid.
She grabs the kid.
Yeah.
And she jumps out the window. The royal kids.
Yeah.
And she jumps out the window with the kid, and she swings down with her rope and puts the kid down. She's like, and the kid's like, my parents are still in there. She's like, don't worry. And she throws the thing back up, and she goes back up. But then right as she gets to the window, flame shoots out. She's blasted off. The parents were killed in the explosion.
Yes.
And she lands on a car and sets off a car alarm.
Yes.
And the kid's like, Mommy, Daddy, no!
Gordon immediately runs over to the kid, hugs
Yeah.
the kid, and puts the jacket over.
And Gordon and he looks at Batgirl and he's like, Batgirl, I wish you could be as good as Batman. Batman wouldn't let these people die.
I know. And then Batgirl, she just
And it
kind
starts
of like,
raining.
well, But this is the thing I love about this movie is how much it's just raining
all the time.
It's always raining.
Yeah, it's
and then
always
the fire
raining.
is put out from the rain, and the smoke is just rising in the city, and the sun's
Yeah.
sort of coming up, and Gordon kind of takes the kid, puts it in the car,
And he
and
goes,
under her breath, she just goes, "Thanks, Dad."
She
yeah.
runs off.
Boom, boom,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then sort of we cut to sort of like the opening montage of the thing. It tonally was very sort of like aggressive, I think, because we've just watched these two adults die.
Mhm.
To then just have this sort of like, like it's like I don't know who
It's like ukulele.
the band was.
Yeah, it's like
No,
ukulele involved. in it.
Yeah, but it was like a ukulele plugged into like like an amp.
Yeah.
So it's like dan 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 back girl. Back girl.
It's really weird because there's a cameo in these opening credits that
Yeah.
not in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like
Oh
they
my
somehow
God.
secured Jared Leto to appear as the Joker, but only in the opening credits.
It was so weird because yeah, you're right. I was thinking, oh, is there gonna be like a Joker like?
Well, there kind of
thing
is
in
a Joker in this movie,
We'll,
but
we'll talk about that
Yeah.
later. We can't get to that. That's
Yeah.
like very end,
Yeah.
very end. And
And
so,
then, well, bam, bam, bam,
Yeah.
back girl.
and then we're
Black.
back.
And then it's just 2 hours earlier. We cut to Leslie Gordon. She's
Yeah.
sort of sitting in her. Leslie Gray's playing.
Barbara Gordon.
Barbara Gordon, sorry, pardon me. And Barbara Gordon is sitting in her bed, and she's not doing her homework. Girls not doing, kids, teenagers
She's like a
not doing homework.
she's teenager.
and
age.
this is when we
teenager.
get the narration where she's like, "You're probably wondering how I wound up in that situation. Well, let me tell you."
Huh? This is a different cut I've seen.
different cut?
This is a different cut I've seen. They must have cut that out because that
Okay.
wasn't in theaters. Maybe
Interesting.
that seems like a scene. Maybe they cut.
Yeah,
that.
maybe they cut they might have cut the narration when they put it out in theaters in your dimension.
You could have been watching a temp score, which is why you thought that was a ukulele.
That's true.
They
I could have.
They could have just
yeah.
interesting.
But so she's in her room.
She's
and
in her
not
room.
doing
She's
her
just
homework.
throwing her tennis ball back across the
Yeah.
bedroom. Boom.
And then we hear
bonk.
loud footsteps, and then barging through the door is J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons.
And he's like, Barbara? That was good, right?
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Barbara, how many times do I have to tell you on Friday night it's homework time or no time? That's it, okay? How many times? How many times? Like 74 times, Dad.
Yeah, geometry.
And we
is
just
what
get
he's
the
saying.
idea
Yeah.
that, in further in the movie, she's, there's some, father issues that she's going to have to reconcile with.
It's subtle though.
It's very subtle.
Up front. It's
yeah.
subtle up front.
At some point, we go back to the building
He's
after
yelling,
it's been
but he's
out.
not
but
screaming.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah.
that's the subtlety. Of
They
it.
have a strained relationship right away. You can tell.
Yeah. At some point, I don't know what happens in between that because I know we flashed back forward into the burning building,
Yeah.
but when it's passed out. But I can't remember what's like in between the
She
J.K. Simmons
well,
and coming back.
So it's 2 hours earlier. She's in her bedroom. She's not doing her homework. Her dad comes in and yells at her for not doing her math homework, and she's like, "Fuck this fucking kid," whatever. She sneaks into his office because she's just like fucking around the house because he left. He had to go on a case, and that's when she sees his little police scanner.
Yeah.
And she's like, I should take this.
Yeah. And so that's when we cut.
And so we cut back to
we cut to a clinic.
a clinic.
Yeah, it just says it literally just says Gotham Clinic.
Gotham Clinic.
Right.
And we get the establishing shot, and then we go inside, and we're introduced, as a parallel. There you just see like a large man sitting in a.
Guys, I have to run to sorry to bother you. I have to run to the restroom real quick. It's a good thing we've all seen the movie, so when I come back, I'll know exactly what you guys are
Yeah.
talking about.
And so there's like a large man sitting in a chair, and he's also bouncing a tennis ball. The camera kind of like starts on him and kind of loops back up his face, and that's when we're introduced to Brendan Fraser,
Yes.
who we will learn is playing Firefly.
Right, but we don't get
Ted
that
Car-
yet in
Ted
this
Carson.
scene. Yeah.
And Ted Carson is like the Firefly iteration.
Yeah.
And a nurse says, "Mr. Carson, the doctor will see you now." He's like, "Thank you." And so he goes back with the doctor.
He has
and
a deeper voice in this
Yeah.
movie too. It's like
he's like doing a thing.
He's doing a thing. Yeah.
And this is when we get.
You think they told him it was supposed to be Stallone?
They might have, and he was like trying to do
Trying to
Stallone
get a
thing.
Stallone thing.
But we get Patrick Warburton in a little cameo as the doctor.
Yes.
And so he's just like, "All right, Mr. Carson, I'm your doctor. I'm here to tell you, you got a lot of cancer." It's like, whoa,
Whoa.
right away.
Yeah.
We're
You
kinda-
got 6 months, maybe.
Yeah, he's like, you got 6 months unless we take it out like right now. And you're like, and he's like, oh my God, I had no idea. I just thought it was like a lump on my back. And he's like, nope, you got a lot of lumps on your back. It's a lot of cancer and it's spreading quick.
You gotta go under the knife.
Yeah, it's like kind of weird that they cast Patrick Warburton in this role.
A little bit. It was a little off-putting.
Yeah, and so they tell, he's like, and so Carson's like, how much is the surgery? I don't want to die. And he's like, well, in a healthcare system in America, it's going to cost you about $2 million. He's like, whoa, really?
$2 million?
Yeah, $2 million. And
It's like, I have insurance, though. And he's like, oh, but your deductible's like crazy high, though.
You
It's
got a high
like,
deductible due to your line of work.
yeah,
Owning just an apartment complex.
Yeah, and that's where I was very intrigued because
He's just a landlord.
he's
That's
a
like
landlord.
his job.
Yeah. And so we then cut back to the burning building.
No, not yet. Not yet. You're forgetting about the rest of his scene. So he goes, he goes back to his house. We kind of get this like sad montage of him walking through the streets. There's a picture of it here.
Yes.
In the set photos of Ted Carson walking back to his apartment.
Yes.
After
we got to Ted.
This is after we found out he had cancer.
he was just told
Yeah.
by Patrick Warburton, doctor, that he had so much cancer and it was going to be $2 million to remove it.
Yeah.
And so he's walking back sad, and he's sitting in his apartment complex in the landlord's office, and he just, he does one of these, and he looks at a picture,
So fucking good.
and he looks at a picture of his family, and then he turns to a filing cabinet, and he opens it, and he pulls out insurance document,
documents.
Yeah.
$2 million.
Yeah.
And then he looks at a flamethrower he conveniently has mounted on the wall.
Dude, Fraser is so fucking good in this
He's
movie.
so locked in.
Holy shit. It's so good to see him back in live action
Yeah.
movies after like a 5-year stint of just like doing
Well, you
because he
Escape
got-
from Planet Earth and the following 3 sequels to
in
that.
2015 he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor in
Yeah.
The Revenant. He played the bear.
Yes.
Well, they changed the rules because he was so good.
Yeah.
And the motion capture actors, and then he was fucking killing
Well,
it.
he was so good in that movie because he was
Yeah.
on set in the bear suit, and then they're like, "Brendan, we're gonna mocap this.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah.
have to come in bear skin."
He got
He's like,
fucking-
"No, I
he
gotta."
got stuck in mocap hell for like 5 years. It was
Yeah.
so
So
cool to
after
see him.
what I love about the scene with the flamethrower is like he's like spreading the flames and like the cinematography here is very interesting because it's
John
like
Matheson, great-
it's like you
great
get like a
DP.
swirl of flames and fire
Well,
and it's like almost like a heavenly feature.
You know the drama
and
of
then-
the scene, right?
Well, like him burning the building
Well,
down.
because
Like,
there's that incredible shot where he shoots the flamethrower right at the camera.
yeah.
The camera operator died. Like he was killed.
I did not know
taking
that.
shot.
I did not know that. All I know
they
is
put it
that
in the movie in tribute of him.
when it hits the camera, then it flashes and we're back into the building post fire.
Yes.
And Gordon and his men are going through and they're investigating, and then Gordon picks up like a piece of ash. Nothing specific, just
Yeah.
ash. And I guess like he tastes it a little bit. Third arson in a month.
Yeah. Well, what he's
Something's-
tasting is he's tasting
Pheromones.
tennis ball fuzz.
Oh
He
yeah.
had the tennis ball. He has so many tennis balls, just like Gordon's daughter does.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
recognizes it because he got tennis balls all over the house, and because they're both. That's where they
Yeah.
connect later on. Is when they're throwing their tennis balls, and then
Yeah.
they get them mixed up.
Yeah,
It's that
he thinks it's
that-
his daughter
that
for
was
a while.
that was a
Oh my
fun little
god!
twist later
But
on
so
in the movie.
then he's investigating it with his men, and they're all talking about like, okay, this is like the third arson, but all of them have been like smaller, like decrepit buildings. This is like the first one that had people in it,
Yeah.
and like obviously whoever's doing this is like getting bigger in scale. Like, how has this happened? And then we hear. And then Batgirl crashes through the roof on the ground, and she just lands like not gracefully, just like on her ass, basically, just like up.
Yeah.
And it's like, and she's like, "Sorry, tried to come in through the roof. Still a little toasty up there."
Because the thing that's interesting is Gordon had already yelled at her, and she's like laying on a car, and then she clambers back up to the top of the building and falls through the roof again to try and get a better entrance.
Yes.
And Gordon's like, "You did this again?" And she's just like, "Fuck."
The physicality of Leslie Grace
Yeah.
is incredible. in this
Yeah, like
movie.
she clearly did the stunt of falling through
Yeah.
Yeah.
7 stories.
But so she then approaches Gordon and says, "So, is this our arson boy?" And Gordon's like,
Who the fuck are you?
All right. He's like, first off, I don't work with you. Where's Batman? This is a Batman level case, okay? And Batgirl's just like I'm who you got, okay? Batman's dealing with something else. Batman's dealing with a bunch of other bigger clowns, okay?
And that's where we get sort of the structure of the movie, because she realizes I can't compete with Batman.
Yeah.
Because Batman is a night guy.
Yeah.
So he's the night hero. What Gotham needs is
It's
a
a
day
day
hero.
hero.
And so that's where sort of she's like, I'm going to stop all the crimes in the day, you know, when people
Batman
are out and
comes in
about
at
and they'll
night.
see me. And then Batman's not going to have any fucking thing to do at night. I'm going to take advantage of all this daytime
Yeah.
crime.
Supply and demand of crime, baby.
Exactly.
That's all it's
Yeah,
got to
so-
be.
But what she realizes, though, is that she needs to sort of, if she's going to do this and this is going to be her whole thing, she needs
Yeah.
to sort of like up her game a little bit, because she just, it cuts back to an hour earlier. It's like,
Yeah.
she built all this suit. And she's like in her garage,
Yeah.
which is cool because it's like her bat cave. It's the
Yeah.
garage that Gordon never
Very
goes
like
into.
lackadaisy.
It becomes like, she's got like her workbench and she's like spray painting all her shit. She's got her helmet.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, and they, you know, there's like a small little conversation in that like burn apartment where they're like saying like, yeah, like whoever this guy is, he's escalating and we have to stop him rather than later, or else the whole city's gonna burn for all I know. And then from that, you know, Barbara like looks into like the what we know, but what she doesn't know was Fraser's apartment.
Yeah.
And she sees like a little paper corner. And on the first three letters, you can kind of make out his I, N, and could it be an S? Could be an S. Now, we know what that paper is. It's the insurance paper.
Yeah.
yep.
But Barbara doesn't know that.
Yep.
So then we cut to, and this was so fucking cool, we cut to the real Batcave.
Yeah.
Can I just like, were you guys as like pleased with the Batcave design as I was? Because I was not expecting the classic glass tubes with the different costumes inside. Normally Batman has like,
They'd already done that reveal of the Batcave in The Flash, which I saw last year on Big Hit. And so that scene,
Yeah,
even
'cause
though you haven't seen The Flash, Stuart, but like that's probably
normally
why I
like
didn't have
I
as
just
big of,
remember like Dark Knight, Christian Bale, he opens like looks like almost like a filing cabinet in his costumes, but this was like, if you watch animation, this is like the glass
Yeah.
like pillars inside with the propped
thing
up costumes.
The thing that's interesting is they shot the Batcave entirely on the volume.
Yeah.
So he's only ever standing in one spot of the Batcave.
yeah,
You don't explore it. He's just like there.
yeah.
And he's like, look over there, and he points at like what kind of looks like, you know, a different room in the corner.
Frankly, I think it shows. you
Yeah,
know,
the volume stuff.
volume stuff.
Yeah,
But,
I
like,
was just so happy to see what that Batcave looked like, and
Yeah.
I love the
Yeah,
glass
nostalgia,
tubes.
Yeah, it works for everyone.
Glass
Yeah,
tubes,
that's
the
awesome.
costume. That was it for me.
Yeah, that was your coming home, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's really just tragic that because he is just standing like surrounded by the costumes, that they're all on the volume screen. They didn't build any of it.
Well, we do get. I won't talk about it yet, but there's
There's the one that they built. and
there's the
it's-
one that they built, but we'll talk about that later. Yeah.
It's clear that they sent Michael Keaton to the volume for like
Yes.
a day of work for this.
Yeah, like
He does all
99
of his stock mark.
It's like 99% of it was all volume. There was just like one scene where they did build a replica of the glass
Yeah.
tube one, but we'll get that to that point later.
They had him for like 2 days. They did all the volume stuff on one day, and then all of his location work on the second day.
Yeah.
is what I ascertained.
I can't remember other than it just being a Michael Keaton Bruce Wayne Batman reveal. I don't know what else happened in that scene.
Well, they do have a fully CGI Michael Guff come
Yep.
in as 110-year-old Alfred, who's like literally a skeleton.
You can get into the ethics of all that kind of stuff.
I thought it was cool as
but,
fuck.
Yeah, I think it's cool as shit.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think more dead people should
Yeah,
be
we
in
should put
movies.
more dead people in
Yeah,
movies.
that's what I think.
Yeah.
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 I know.
But so then he sits at his computer and he's like looking up and it's like third arson in a month. This guy's escalating. Pretty much saying verbatim what Barbara and
Yeah.
Gordon have already been talking about. He's like, I got to catch this guy, Alfred. And then I was really disturbed with the voice because it's like, oh, Mr. Wayne.
It's really good.
Mr. Wayne, your guests have arrived. And he goes upstairs.
That's when we cut back to the Ted Carson storyline.
Yes.
And Fraser is, redeeming his insurance policy,
Yeah.
which was $2 million for the building.
Yes.
Oh, hell yeah. That's a big flamethrower.
Yeah. And he gets his $2 million, and he's like, hell yeah, I won't have cancer anymore. That's the actual line he says.
It is. But Fraser deals
he's
it
like,
like,
"I won't
That's
have
why you get
cancer
an
anymore."
actor like
Yeah,
Fraser.
to
No
say
offense
that.
to Christine Hodson.
Yeah.
anymore. Yeah.
And so he gets his $2 million. There's like no underwriting. They just give him like $2 million in like stacks.
You see that much money, you're like,
Yeah.
He's like, I have to carry all this money. And they're like, yeah, you got to carry a lot of duffel bags.
Yeah, he has like 3 duffel bags. He's like one strapped over his back where it's rubbing on all the cancer sores. He seems a little in pain.
Yeah.
And then he's got one in each hand. And he's walking out with all this money.
And that's when I was really let down because this is when he gets robbed.
Yeah.
And so he gets like beaten like brutally. I was surprised at PG-13 because they really go all balls to the wall.
He's like, if I had my flamethrower.
Well, he gets like, at this point we don't see him as like this terrifying villain. We haven't really seen him enter villain mode yet. Mostly just been kind of like survival. But in this one, he's very much like, because Fraser's like 54, 55 at this point in time. Like, but he looks a little bit older. He's putting on like sort of like an older, helpless man kind of look. And so when he gets robbed, you feel bad for him. And then they take his duffel bags full of his cash, and like he doesn't have any money anymore.
Did you recognize one of the guys who robs him?
No.
Well, it was interesting.
It was Michael Chiklis.
Yeah, it was Michael Chiklis. I was like, it's weird.
I haven't seen Chiklis on the big screen in so long. Yeah, that was my reaction.
I think it's weird is it's like Chiklis and like 2 guys who I didn't recognize. And then... And you're like, oh, clearly he's setting up Chiklis as the one who he goes back to and gets the money back when he's in full, Firefly mode. But Chiklis doesn't appear in the movie again. No, he's just only in that scene.
Yeah, I was really confused about that too.
Instead, it's like one of the other guys who he goes to when he goes, full villain mode.
And then, has any of you guys seen like Prince of Egypt?
No.
I am a sovereign prince of Egypt, a son of a proud history that's shown, etched on every wall. No, I haven't seen it. No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, never mind.
That sounds like a good song.
Well, there's a song in it
though.
where it's Martin Short and Steve Martin are playing like the Egyptian priests, and they sing this song like, "You're playing with the big boys now." It's not that song, but it's got the vibes of that song, because this is like when Fraser like just given up on life. He's had cancer. He had to burn down his apartment building to get the money. The money got robbed. And we even talk about the phone call with his ex-wife about his daughter's custody battle, which really hits home for Fraser with his like custody history and all that stuff too. So like he has hit ground zero on
and his
the
wife
ground.
Is like, our daughter is 29. You can't have her anymore. He's like, that doesn't make sense to me.
That part was a little weird. I won't lie. But like, I just, when he gets up off the ground, bruised, bloody, and he starts walking, it's raining still. Like it never stops raining.
Nope.
And you just hear like the playing with the big doors now, and it's like you just the camera seems very stagnant because he just like, it's one of those shots where he gets like so close and then it goes close into his eye and then it takes up the entire screen and then it cuts to a different scene.
Yeah, well, we cut to it says military installation, undisclosed location. We go inside and it's Viola Davis as Amanda Waller.
God damn it!
And she's walking down the hallway with Russell Crowe playing a general of some sort.
Yeah.
I think his name is like General Maydeen or something
General
like that.
Maydeen.
Yeah, General Maydeen.
Maydeen.
M-A-D-I-N-E.
Viola talks so fast.
She's talking really fast.
I couldn't.
And she's like, General Maydeen, so we've been working on this new flight suit for a while now. The men are saying it looks kind of like a bug. They're thinking of calling it the Fly. And she like opens the door and Russell Crowe's like, oh yeah, it's kind of looks like that, doesn't it? He's doing his like, he's not changing his accent.
kind of look like that.
Kind of looks like a fly. Yeah, he's like, kind of looks like a fly. And he actually, they walk into the room and she's like really proud of this like flight suit that they've built. Russell Crowe actually kind of just like splits off and he goes to like a little snack table and he just grabs like 3 donuts and he's just like munching. And she's like, don't you want to look at the Fly, General Maydeen? He's like, I'm gonna feed first. Yeah,
I have to feed.
and she's like, well, General, would you like to test fly?
I'm a grown man in it.
Would you like to test fly the suit? We built it to your size specifications.
He just keeps eating donuts. He's like my size, huh? He's like, more donuts. He's like, feed. Don't know like a fit now.
And she's like, General, come on, we gotta like. And so she finally coerces him. Like, she puts a donut on the suit, and he like scampers up to it.
He's like, oh, what
On all fours.
He's
So fucked up.
He's like kind of like goblin mode. He crawls up to it. And that's where and she's like, put him in, and like two kind of scientists like kind of like put him in the suit. It's kind of weird that there's a general test flying this thing, but like, the movie's got a movie.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, you gotta.
Yeah. And so
Suspension of disbelief.
And so Russell Crowe's now in the fly suit.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, it's a little crazy. She's like, we're gonna remote control it for you, just so that you can experience what it's like to be a test pilot.
He's like, if it's got a remote control, why am I gonna be in it? Just remote control and flying around places.
Gotta make
I don't need to be in.
And so she presses a button, and it takes off. With Russell Crowe's like, oh bloody hell!
Yeah.
And
And it's important to clarify, this is during the daytime.
Yeah,
This is during the daytime.
And then God, what's his name? He's in this movie. He's in Independence Day, Star Trek. He plays Data.
Tremblay.
Oh, Tremblay. Oh yeah, Jacob Tremblay.
Jacob Tremblay.
That's it. That's what I'm thinking. Jacob Tremblay runs in the room as in a scientist outfit, and he's like, Amanda, the suit wasn't ready. And she's like, what do you mean? She's like, the remote control doesn't work.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, and she gets
shit.
cut off halfway through shit because we
Yeah.
have to keep the PG-13.
Yeah.
You said 3 fucks, but
And so then we cut to Russell Crowe. Like, oh, and he's like launching straight up.
stars.
And so he's up, and then he kind of starts doing an arc,
Oh, shit.
and he's like heading back down towards Gotham.
And we cut back down to
Fraser.
Fraser walking in the street, just after having been robbed.
big boy.
Big boys now. And then we kind of like look up, GoPro shot, look up at the
And
sky.
he sees a shooting star.
Boom! Knocks Fraser out again, ass on the ground. He cuts over. He looks at the fly suit, whatever. Mangled. Crow. Maydeen.
The helmet.
Dead.
What's really
Russell
cool?
Crowe dead.
Oh, yeah, because like what's really cool is like the helmet sort of like opens up like
Yeah.
Iron Man style, and you just see like a like squished face
But
of Russell
what's
Crowe.
convenient about this is that Russell Crowe completely caught the suit's fall. Suit untouched, not a scratch on it.
It kind of has a little bit of like a black like asphalt stain that gives it a nice little more like black, because originally it was like a silvery nitrate like look.
chromy kinda,
This one's more like it's gotten weathered with like the impact. So it's more like carbon smoke black kind of, which fits the ideal, because then Fraser, Russell Crowe. Did you say he died right away?
Yeah, he died right
did.
away.
Well,
Just dead.
because I could have swore like he opens the helmet and he just like spits out blood. He's like, please help me. And Fraser looks at a helpless Crow, and he like
Oh yeah, that's
wrenches him out of the suit.
But then he stops and he goes, "Help you, help me!"
And then he throws Crow. Because
Help me!
help you! Help me! He says that over and over again in his like Fraser maniacal way.
Yeah.
He throws him further onto the street, and because like where the suit landed was like kind of like right on the curb next to the street, the pavement. Where it like if it was like on the sidewalk, Fraser would have been like squished and liquidized. But he like takes Crow out and just throws him further on the street, and a semi truck. Boom! Boom! But it happened off screen. Like you just hear a sound truck like sound effect.
Yeah.
Like
and then the semi truck kind of like stops. The door opens. You're oh shit, and then it shuts and drives off.
but then so that
I could have
Fraser.
sworn that was a Michael Chiklis voice.
Yeah, it
cameo.
kinda sounds like
He
Michael-
came
it
back
might-
and he
yeah.
did Chiklis did that again. But
So then Fraser now sees this empty suit.
Yeah.
And and then it's like, and the score goes to like techno, like
yeah, but like techno,
and because as this is all happening,
oh shit,
it's like the
Forgot.
dolly is like it's on this really cool wide shot with like a fire effect, and the ground's wet at this point
because of the
really
rain.
wet.
because of the
It's
rain.
still raining.
And it's dollying in, and you just hear like cuts to the apartment, same shot angle. It's like a match cut, and it's like the suit like just displayed on like a little like fake little recliner. He found an apartment, I guess.
Yeah. Well, he has an apartment with his family.
Right. And then it cuts, and then he like steps up, cuts to an OTS of over Fraser looking at the suit, cuts from the suit's POV to Fraser, and then it like does like a smash zoom into Fraser's face, and then we smash zoom back out,
And he's in the suit.
and he's in the suit holding
The flamethrower. He's
flamethrower.
now become the Firefly.
Hard cut back to Leslie Grace who's in this movie.
Yes.
She's in this movie quite a bit, despite the movie kind of like skipping over her origin story, which is good
Yeah.
because you get so much of the
Yeah, you get so many
story shit.
Yeah, yeah.
The
It's
movie's
implied.
the movie's just like, fuck it, she's Batgirl. Fuck
Yeah.
off. You know what I'm saying? Like, let her have some fun.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And she's out. She's in a grocery store though.
Yeah.
And she's picking up some
Bananas.
Mm-hmm. And she's picking up some fruits, and she's picking up some potato chips. Crinkle cut. That's what
Sierra
Gordon
Mist,
likes.
because they have a Sierra
And
Mist.
she's walking around in the thing, and she bumps into a man in like a black sort of like big coat. And she's in the bathroom, and it's Keaton.
It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Keaton's in the grocery
I was
store too.
that was like a really kind of like because you're expecting like a big reveal of Keaton
Yeah.
and Barbara meeting, but it's like very like blown off. Like
Yeah.
oh, they just hit each
Yeah,
other.
this is his second and last scene of the movie.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting to front load him. He's not in the movie again after this.
Wow.
I think they use a body double for some
wait,
of those scenes
I
of
was
Batman
gonna say
later.
because like I hear his voice, but
No.
you're right. He's always in the bat suit.
He's always in the bat suit later on. I actually think Keaton, this was his last day.
Yeah.
He did a
Probably,
volume
yeah.
day, and then the grocery store, which is also on a volume. They did
Yeah.
a grocery store in the volume as well.
Yeah. The thing that's there's a weird cameo in this scene because like they kind of chat through the
This
grocery
movie has
store.
a lot of cameos.
Yeah, they kind of chat through the grocery store and to like the checkout aisles. And there's 4 checkout aisles, and the 4 like cashiers are Lily Tomlin, Jane Fonda, Rena Moreno, and Sally Field.
Yeah.
And it's a weird like 80 for Brady crossover.
Yeah.
It's just I think they might have just been filming 80 for Brady at the next stage.
Maybe,
And they're
yeah.
like, hey, you guys want to come over and do a scene? So they came over to the volume and they did the scene in the grocery store as the
And
cashiers.
I think it's 81 for Brady one.
Yeah, 81 for
Because
Brady
his
one.
name is Tom Brady one.
80 for
I don't know
Batman.
you guys. Okay, never mind.
I can't remember. Did they have much? Well, the conversation wasn't that long that they had when they were like bumped into each other.
Well, no, because like she bumps into him. He turns around. And he goes,
Watch it, kid.
yeah, but he goes, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have been so abrasive. And she goes, it's fine. Relax. And he's like, okay. And then she kind of like he like walks off, and she's
well, and this is a good point because it is the last time we see Keaton out of the costume because after this like moment, we then like it's an OTS
Yeah.
from Leslie onto Keaton, and then as
Yeah.
it walks away, we start to like whoever the sound designer is. It was very genius because we hear a and it's like fire noises. The camera pans to the right, and across the street's the hospital on fire.
shit. Oh my god, it's scary. I hate fire. This movie was so stressful.
So
much
like
fire.
the hospital, which we will get. You saw the Gotham Clinic, which is interesting to know. Hold on
Yeah.
to that thought.
Fraser can't afford the hospital.
Right,
That's
and
$4
so
million
he
for his
takes-
cancer treatment.
Well, he takes out like at this point he's just on a murderous rampage.
Yeah.
So he's what we think as the audience is, oh my god, like he's setting the hospital on fire. So then Michael Keaton both look, Barbara Gordon looks, and they both kind of do their like, I gotta go, and they like run away, and then it cuts to like, in the suit, Firefly in the hall, like being like, I want it all to burn everything.
Help me!
yeah,
Who was the doctor that was like gave him the cancer diagnosis?
it was
Because
Patrick Warburton, but he's at the clinic. 'Cause
oh
thi- thi-
right,
This is
Double duty. He's
yeah.
pulling double duty.
This scene like really shows how depraved he is because like a nurse runs out of like the pediatric ward.
yeah,
And is like, think of the children. He's like, think of my children. And he blasts her and lights her on fire.
gosh.
and that's when she says like, hey. You hear her like the hey voice, and the camera does like a pan over, and you see at the opposite of the hallway, Barbara Gordon, Batgirl. She's
Yes.
suited up, and then it's Barbara Gordon, Firefly, end of the hallway, and that's where we get the first fight
the first
scene.
fight.
And it is, I mean,
We're probably like a little before the midpoint.
a little bit before the
Yeah.
midpoint. Yeah, I mean, like this fight scene, Mark. I mean,
This movie's a brisk 75 minutes. My favorite thing about it. It's just fucking
It
in
just clogs.
and out.
yeah. But the fight scene was just amazing because he's on the glider or like the flight suit kind of the whole time with his flamethrower.
It is weird that they do set it within a small confined hallway.
Yeah.
Because he's like just kind of floating like a foot above the ground.
I mean, he's
of
more
it.
mobile because you imagine if he's on his feet, like he can't like outmaneuver Batgirl, but with the glider portion, like he's kind of like he's able to like
But he
maneuver
doesn't
around.
have like a bunch of rooms. So he's like banging into walls and
he's,
shit.
like, just
and
kinda-
tactically, what's cool is she's just like, this is my fucking thing. You know, he can't maneuver. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to get as low as possible, and she crouches on the ground, and he's flying, and he kind of can't see over because he's like got the suit up and he's really high up, and she's kind of like crouching, and she gets underneath him, and she pulls on his leg, bang, and she fucking crashes the wings through the walls, and that's when he's not in the suit anymore, and it's just them on their feet.
Yeah. And she says this really great line because I think we might have missed this earlier in the movie because she's like,
She goes, fuck!
she's well, she says that, and she says, "Get the fuck out of my hospital!" Because early in the movie, we find that she actually like she's doing an internship as like a orderly in the hospital.
Yeah, she's one of like the candy.
Yeah. And so the fight continues on, but Fraser's able to like barely get away. And as he's like getting away, you know, he passes by this plaque, and he looks at this plaque and he sees, thankful to the donations brought by Wayne Enterprise. And so he puts two and two together. Batgirl saying, "Get out of my hospital that was pretty much built by Wayne Enterprise." Is Batgirl a Wayne?
And he's like, does Bruce Wayne have any kids?
Well,
He's an older guy. He might.
Yeah. Because
He
I can't
thinks
wait to get to this next scene. It's just so fucking
Alright,
brutal.
yeah.
But like,
The fight is cool. This is where we get the sort of iconic. She throws the batarang, which she made with the GoPro, and then she starts like pelting him with them.
Yeah.
And he's like, fuck, too many batarangs.
And so he manages. He escapes.
Yeah.
He kind of like flies off.
Yeah.
After he finds that out.
The fight was super cool though.
Yeah.
We should
It was
reemphasize.
really.
We didn't get
It's
into
like
a lot of detail, but
one of the coolest fights.
It's one of the coolest fights.
yeah.
It's one of the
And so
coolest
she's like, and she looks around. She was so preoccupied with fighting him that she wasn't paying attention to saving the hospital.
Yeah.
And so she kind of like grabs a fire extinguisher and like tries to put out a little fire, but the roof starts collapsing, and she jumps out the window. As it collapses behind her, and she lands on a cop car.
Again.
Yeah, and then the door of the cop car opens, and Gordon gets out. And he's like, "You again? Look at what you've done!"
Yeah, and this is where we get the first Batman body double.
Yeah.
because it's clearly not Keaton, but he's standing there with all of the people from the hospital, and
Yeah.
it was like while she was like distracting or whatever, he like snuck everybody in the hospital
and
out.
saved them all.
Yeah, and he goes, "This is how you save people, kid.
Yeah.
Not by dicking around in the hallways, but by going into people's rooms individually and saying,
One by one.
follow me."
And then Gordon kind of looks at her, and he's like,
That's a real hero.
"That's a real hero. You should look to that."
And then she does it again. She goes, "Thanks."
And so she kind of like does a Charlie Brown walk off, and then Gordon turns to Batman, and he's like, "This is getting pretty heavy."
He now just blew up a hospital.
Yeah, and Batman's like, "I might have to call in some help," and Gordon's like, "I got some help I can call in. I know some guys." And see, this is why it's beneficial.
I'm gonna let you.
Well,
Yeah,
this
be
is
the
why
one to
it's
talk about this. 'Cause I
beneficial.
know you told me this is one of your favorite
yeah,
scenes in the
that
whole movie.
Adil and
so I
Bilal
don't
directed
wanna-
this movie because you just
Yeah.
hear. And then we cut to establishing shot, Miami, Florida.
It is so cool they got away with this.
Yeah, it's so.
Oh my fucking god.
The deal is that had to be struck for this to work in
It's
this movie.
fucking nuts. I mean, it takes away some of the sort of like the agency of the protagonist of Batgirl to bring them in. It's controversial, but when we said this movie was better than The Dark Knight, we said it was better
Yeah.
for a reason.
Because we there's a car and it's like chasing. It's a squad car and it's like chasing another car.
Yeah.
Marcus Lowry, Michael Lowry, and Marcus Burnett in the driver's seat. Will Smith's hanging out the side of the car, trying to shoot the guy in front of him. He's like, "Marcus, you gotta drive better," and Marcus is like, "You gotta shoot better." So they're driving. Will Smith does succeed at blowing out the tire, and it just like rolls into the ocean and explodes.
Yeah. And then they get a call, and it's Gordon
Yeah.
back in Gotham.
Yeah.
And he's like, "We got this fucking Trump Batgirl, who's our daytime hero now." Even though Batman in continuity era, Batman was totally there saving the day.
Yeah, he was just there at the
At the
grocery store
hospital.
trying to like.
Yeah.
You know.
He's still like the main villain. Batgirl's just trying to like climb
Yeah.
up the ranks.
But they were like, but Gordon's like, we need our best daytime heroes.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and so they get the bad boys.
Yeah.
They're like, we don't know if that's our jurisdiction, but they're just like, whatever. Yeah.
And then Will is just like, man, we went to Cuba, we go to Gotham.
Yeah.
And then Marcus is like, ride together.
And then he's like, we're so old. I forget. What's the second bit of that?
Die together.
Die together.
Will says both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Will says both of them.
And then like a little like bat pod, like a small bat plane kind of lands next to them and they get in and it takes off and flies towards Gotham.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
It's so
and
cool.
there's an in between
like cinema
scene
coming full
where
circle.
Yeah.
Barbara runs into her room out of the Batgirl costume and slams her door shut, and she like kind of has an emotional moment here because she realized she is like flunking the job of being a hero, and that's when she like kicks a stand over and it falls down and a shelf opens and a note falls out,
Yeah.
and it's a note from her mom, who
Yeah. Oh,
obviously
Jesus.
if you know
Even
like the
just thinking
origin
about this
story,
scene
gets me
like
teary-eyed.
it's passed away,
It's really emotional.
and
Yeah.
I mean, Jeff, we were talking about this scene. You probably did the best like recreation of what the note said. I mean,
Yeah. Well, it says, my baby girl.
Whoa. Yeah. It's uncanny, the likeness. Jeez, you're right. He really does do this.
yeah.
It says, my baby girl.
Don't fuck
You
it
know,
up. Sorry.
you know how much your mama loves you. And though I'm going to be leaving you soon, for reasons unknown to you perhaps, know that mommy will never fail you and know that I have the absolute faith in you. I have the absolute faith in you. Well, and there's also a picture of her. And she's like, I would do anything for you. And know that no matter what, me and your father are always going to respect and love you no matter what you do. And she's like, Batgirl's getting really emotional. And she kind of like slides the picture out. And it's a picture of her mom, who is played by an uncredited John Travolta in the
Edna Turbine
in the Edna Turnblad's
costume. Yeah.
Uncredited.
Yeah, that was why I wanted you to read it.
And that's
'cause
the
I knew
picture
it.
that she's
You guys
seeing.
should do Travolta.
We should after we did Stallone.
No, that'd be awesome. You get to cover this movie twice. It'd be awesome.
And so she slides the picture out, and she's expecting to see a picture of Gordon, but she slides it out, and it's a picture of Travolta with a little baby, and then Bruce Wayne, who's a de-aged Michael Keaton in the photo.
I mean, look, it looks rough.
Yeah.
But like, it's a tough task.
Yeah.
Anybody assigned that is gonna,
it's
like
there's no archival. Obviously,
I
there's
know.
no archival photos of
Yeah.
Michael Keaton to go to, so they fully rendered him.
Yeah.
as a baby.
And so then we cut from there to the bad boys showing up.
Yeah.
And they get there and be like, listen, we have an arsonist. They're in Gordon's office,
Yeah.
and Gordon says, listen, like, we need you guys out there during the day. We got Batman at night. Find this arson. He's now burned down like 2 heavily populated buildings with
Yeah.
some decrepit buildings that he's burned previously. We think he's on a warpath going after some of Gotham's like elites. There's some class thing here. We need you guys to find him. And, they all say like, well, you know what they say in Miami. What do they say in Miami, guys?
Oh yeah.
Hola.
They say hola, chica. They say hola, chica.
What did they say, Stuart?
No, that was
He
what
says
that-
hola,
oh,
chica.
yeah,
He says "Hola, chica." I was
And Gordon's a little confused by this.
yeah.
But
So that we cut to them on the prowl driving during the day, and they're like, Gotham, we could probably move here. You
Yeah.
know, we could. And they're talking about like retiring, and
Yeah.
it's like
it's
we're
still
get-
raining.
we're
but they're
get-
kind of looking at the sunset.
we're getting too old for this shit, man.
Yeah.
Like they're talking about, and then that's when we see like burning flames again.
Yeah.
Only this time, it's the police department that they just came from.
Yeah, it's on fire.
It's on fire.
They have to do a U-turn,
Yeah.
but like it's really bad traffic
So they have
on
to
the highway. So they're like kind of like trying to maneuver the way. They'd have to
Yeah.
do like a 30-point turn. Everyone's yelling at them. Will Smith like starts pointing guns at civilians. He's like, let us do the U-turn.
And so, so at this, like, we cut back to like they're racing back, but traffic is so terrible.
Traffic is so bad.
Cut to Barbara in her room, like she just read the note. She's like crying, and then she gets a call, just regular cell phone call,
Yeah.
and it's a call, and it's like you hear like chaos in the background, like oh my god, Barbara, and it's like it's Dad. And it's like, Barbara, there's been a thing. Something happened at the hospital. I think I found the guy, but Barbara just, like, if anything happens. And then, like, the phone call cuts off.
Yeah.
She's like, Dad? And so She gets the costume back on,
Yeah.
and she makes a run for the police department. And
Just full sprint.
full sprint to the police department. And,
Past all the cars in traffic.
And she's
she
running.
passes Marcus. She passes, yeah.
and
Yeah.
what's great is like 'cause
They're still, like, halfway
they're
through the-
still
yeah.
in traffic.
Yeah.
It was I love the use of the bad boys in this, that like they think you're gonna bring them in to do some
Yeah.
work, and
They're
they're just stuck in traffic
traffic the
the
rest of the
whole
movie.
time.
Yeah.
But
never coming back to Gotham.
but so
You don't get
she's
travel like this in Miami.
No, it's a good sort of like
Yeah.
red herring. It's a good sort of
Yeah.
like you don't know that.
But
Barbara's
so
gonna have this
she's
big
at the
plan.
police department, and like she realizes for the first time, it's like, oh my god, like I'm alone. Like where's Batman? And I'm like, Batman's a nighttime guy. You have to fix this.
Yeah.
And so we kind of get like some character arc, because rather than instead of trying to find Firefly, she's like, where's Firefly? It's like, it doesn't matter. You got to get the people out. She's like, okay. And she does that. She
Yeah.
gets people out of the
Yeah.
burning building, and like it's like an arc for her that she's like actually learning to like
Yeah.
help more innocent people. And then but as the crowd has flooded the streets covered in ash and such, she's like, where's Commissioner Gordon? Because she's wanting to make sure did
Yeah.
her dad get out. Where's Commissioner Gordon? And they say like, Batgirl, Commissioner Gordon's not here. He got a tip and was heading to Wayne Manor.
Whoa.
And that's when
that was crazy when
we
I
get the
experienced that.
dee dee doo doo dee doo.
Yeah.
And it's her Batcom, and you just hear,
Help me.
help you. And she immediately, and then you just hear Barbara, Barbara, and so that she like
She has to
steals,
turn around and run back the other way.
and she's running, and it's like the song that plays here. Oh my god. I was so surprised that they made this poll,
Yeah, I know.
because I was just like, really? Like,
Are you gonna play it or do you want me to sing it?
I'm gonna play it.
You sure?
Yeah.
We can sing it.
I'll sing it. Who can say where the road? Oh shit! We saw different cuts.
Yeah.
We saw different cuts of this movie.
Yeah. Well, Mark, no, I think
She's
what-
Tom Cruise in it.
Yeah,
she's
she's
fucking.
Tom
bolting.
Cruising him
Her
because
fucking, she's got such a good stride. Fuck, fuck, fuck,
as she
fuck.
runs past the bad boys again, and Will Smith like kind of rolls the window down, but it's like a crank window.
Go,
he's like,
Batgirl,
and
go!
he's like, where are you going? She's like, he's that way now.
Marcus
They're
is just
oh,
like-
shit, and they
and
like have
Marcus
to do
is-
the U-turn again.
Mark is just like that girl. Is so purple. Where'd that purple girl go?
And so they're making the U-turn again.
Yeah.
But she was running towards Wayne Manor. We cut to her like a few blocks away, and she's really out of breath. It's like,
But so she has to steal a moped to get there the rest of the way, but she gets there. Wayne Manor's in flames. But immediately what she does is she dives in through the glass.
Stuart, you're not going to say who she steals the moped from.
Well, I didn't want to say it. Did you want to say
I
it?
mean, it's
It's Tremblay again.
yeah, it's Trumblay. He's like, oh damn.
God
But
damn.
she
He goes,
dives.
he goes, hey, that moped's remote controlled.
But she dives through the glass, gets
Yeah,
into Wayne
sorry.
Manor. It's flames a burning. She's like, Dad! She's forgotten that she's in the Batgirl costume. She's just yelling for Dad. It's like, Dad, where are
And
you?
now she's conflicted about which dad she's yelling for because they're both in here.
Right.
Yeah.
Because then she's like, everything's covered in smoke, and she trips and like falls onto a piano key, but it's the perfect piano keys
Yeah.
you need to click to open up the elevator to get you to the Batcave. Remember when I said everything in the was in the volume except for the tube?
Yeah.
So she gets down to the
The
Batcave.
volume, I didn't.
So when she gets to the Batcave, it starts with volume but flames, and she's like looking around, it's like, Dad, and you hear a Barbara. And then you look, and it cuts to the only real shot of the tube, and where the costumes were. There's two tubes.
Yeah.
One has James Gordon, and one has Batman in his costume, and you just hear, dee 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 dee.
Help me. Help you. Help your father.
That's when the fucking like that grandfather clock, that huge one he has in the cave,
Yeah.
goes dong, dong. It's 6 p.m.
Yeah.
It's
Six-
nighttime now.
And so then
How?
I don't know, but he's like, choose speedy, and then like the comm goes dead. It's burning, and everything is like,
You can only get one of them out.
she can only get one of them out in time. So she like immediately goes to James Gordon, who she tries to like the glass, it's like held shut because Batman didn't want people to get inside and grab one of his costumes. So she's like trying. It's like, I can't get it open. And then from like the tube, a spark lights up, and it fills the tube with flames. I have never seen J.K. Simmons act this way
because he's on fire.
Because he's on fucking fire at this point in the movie, and it's so graphic.
One of the most incredible special effects.
It was
I think they might have just lit him on fire.
They did. I think they deadass did because he's like, "Rah!" Like he's just like clamoring in the fire, and Batman's just like, do, just like trying to punch, and it lights on fire in his tube as well. But luckily, he's able to like break through the glass. And get up, and they're both trying to try to get this thing open, but it's like,
and they can't get it open.
They can't get it open.
But as Gordon's burning, they hear like a behind them, and they see like there's some collapsed wood and whatnot, some logs, and then you just see a fist come through them, and it's Michael Gough, CG Alfred, and he's just kind of tears them apart. And as his skin is on, his whole body's on fire. And as his skin's burning off, you're seeing like metallic android bones beneath, because he's an android.
And he says the great line.
Yeah.
What's the point of all those bloody push-ups? Bloody logs.
And he and runs over and just opens the thing with his android.
And a charred, skinless
Alfred.
You said it best when we saw it. Like you were like, what'd you say, Jeff?
I said it was Kentucky Fried.
Yes,
Alfred.
you did say it was Kentucky Fried. Yes. He was like Kentucky Fried Gordon.
Kentucky Fried Gordon. And he falls out, his lifeless body over, and Batman, Batgirl, and Robo Alfred are looking down at him.
And what's most surprising about this scene is the direction it takes.
Mm-hmm.
It's because he's kind of like flamed out. He's Kentucky Fried. He's gone. Gordon's passed out because he's burnt to a crisp. Batman from pounding on the glass is knocked out. It's just Gordon. It's just Barbara Gordon and it's Firefly.
Yeah.
And they're just staring each other down in the Batcave.
Because Firefly kind of flies down from the ceiling.
He flies down from the ceiling. He's got his suit. He kind of unbuckles it. It falls off.
Mm-hmm.
He walks over to one of these little tables and he sits down.
Have a seat.
And there's a little chessboard over there, and he goes.
The whole place is on fire.
Just have a seat. It's in flames.
Yeah,
your dad's dying. Batman's on the ground.
He's dead. Batman, I think he gets out of the glass, but he's like smoke
Barbara
inhalation.
wanders over. Barbara takes his suit off, and takes her helmet off, whatever. And he goes, and she goes, and then now they both take the little masks off respectively. And what was his last name again?
Carson.
Yeah, Carson. She goes, Mr. Carson, my math teacher.
It's really crazy.
Holy fuck! Whoa, fuck. And he goes, Barbara,
my best student,
my best student, who with the worst work ethic. And they sit down and they have this really, really, really sort of emotional conversation, kind of very reminiscent of Kill Bill Volume 2, where she's sitting down with Bill. Yeah. They're talking about Superman in that movie.
And he's like,
and they just sit down and they talk about, They talk about life. They talk about
like brilliant but lazy.
Brilliant but lazy. Yeah. And
there's like a fun little detail where
they're just like, what the fuck's the point of everything?
Where he pulls out a cigar and then he shoots the flamethrower at it to
awesome.
light it.
This is what is just really like subverting, the superhero tropes.
Can't just
of all
talk
these.
it out.
Because Adil and Bilal are smart. They know that all these movies end in like CGI punching fests, and they're like, no, we're real directors of actors.
Yeah,
we're gonna build this whole movie to just like a conversation with both of our actors, fucking locked in.
Yeah.
We've pulled, Brendan out of this, like motion capture hell he's been in. Let's get him on fucking screen. Let's get him in some fucking close-ups. Let's get this guy talking about fucking like Nietzsche.
Yeah.
And sort of like his whole thing, and he's wrestling with cancer and life and nihilism.
45 minutes later.
It's fucking invigorating. Yeah. And they shoot it with GoPros. You know what I'm saying?
It's all GoPros around them.
Yeah,
it's the best. It's probably the best scene of the movie because
it's why you go to movies.
Because after they talk it out, they're both like, I understand you now.
I understand everything.
Yeah, it sucks. My dad had to die in the process, but I get it now.
People die.
Yeah.
And you're gonna die one day, and he's like, I'm gonna die one day. I don't know why I'm so mad. Everyone's gonna die.
And as that conversation's continuing, you tell me if this might have been a different cut, but I believe it's one we watched, Jeff. as they're talking about the intricacies of life, like the frame of the screen then shrinks and becomes like just like 1/2 middle of the entire TV screen.
Yeah.
On the right side that has just black credits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just credits.
And it just plays the rest of the conversation while it's credits, and you think,
It's just the two of them sitting there with the Batcave on flames.
Yeah.
yeah,
The
very
credits-
powerful
Their
image.
credits are long. We're
Yeah.
talking 12 minutes. So
12 minutes of credits.
that's where they were just like, we can just like run the credits while they're finishing.
Yeah.
Like simultaneously, which is
Yeah.
no one's fucking like
No one's done that before.
Yeah.
You
No one's
usually
done
you'll
that
like
before.
end on like a thing or a face and you roll the credits, but like the movie's still going.
Movie's still
Yeah.
going. They're
They're
rolling
just, like,
the
chatting
credits.
it out.
Rolling the
They're
credits.
rolling the credits.
Fuck, it's so cool. I want to watch it right
And then because
now.
it's half the scene, like it's like basically like cell phone size
Yeah.
on that screen. And I have to like constantly be panning between the two of them
Yeah.
as they're kind of chatting it
Yeah.
out,
This is
talking
good.
about their thoughts on life. At one point in the background, you do hear Keaton screaming. The implication is that he is burned to death.
Yeah, that he didn't make it
all
out.
the time.
Sweet mercy, I think is what he was yelling. Sweet mercy, please.
Help me. But the while the credits are rolling, the gist of their their conversation, they end up walking out hand in hand together.
Yeah.
Because she's kind of like been like, I don't know who my dad is.
Yeah.
They're both dead now,
I
so
was
it
never
doesn't
gonna,
matter. What matters is not where I came from. What matters is who I am.
I don't know if I was born to be a hero. Doesn't mean I can't
Yeah.
still be one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like,
don't know
I
if
wasn't born to be a villain.
but
But I was made into one.
But I was made into one.
Yeah.
But she's like, it's never too late in life to
And that's what
to change your act.
it was the best way, right before they get up and walk away, she says, by the way, I think I read your insurance policy wrong. Your deductible's $300.
And he's like, oh.
And he goes, fuck.
Yeah, you're
Ends. That's great.
No, they get up and they just like, yeah, let's walk to the hospital together and get this taken care of because
Yeah.
it's just $300. I can spot you $200 if you need it. It's like, no, like 150 is probably fine. It's
She's like, insurance for both my parents died.
Right.
My dad's
and
died.
it's like they're walking away, still talking the logistics of paying for his cancer surgery, and we're stuck on the table, and the smoke continues until eventually it fades to black. The credits move to the center of the screen, continue moving. Movie's over.
Yeah.
Well, there is a post-credit scene.
Yeah.
Because the movie's over. We cut to black. We cut back to Marcus and Mike on the highway.
Yeah.
They're still in the midst of the U-turn. And Marcus is like, I can't do this anymore. And he gets out and just starts walking.
Yeah.
And Mike's like, Marcus, where are you going? He's like, I'm going back to Miami. And he's walking back to Miami.
Yeah.
And so they're walking together south towards Miami from Gotham, which we can presume is somewhere near like Jersey, New York. But then they're stopped halfway down the road. And there's like a little like electric.
I'll never forget the first time I saw it.
It's like a little electric.
Yeah.
And suddenly the Flash is there. Played by Ezra Miller.
Jeff, you're talking about the mid-credit scene. There's an end credit scene. I'll talk.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because like
They play the mid-credit scene at the same time they're finishing the movie.
there's like
And
three
the credits
things
are rolling.
happening at the same
I think
time.
those TikToks you see now
Yeah.
where they're playing
Yeah.
like the streetcar
But
game
the
or whatever.
But the Flash shows up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Flash shows up and he's like, Batman's dead. And they're like, cool. And he's like, the world needs a Batman. And Marcus and Mike are like, well, I don't know why you're telling us this. And they actually just keep walking. And the Flash like, damn. And so he runs off. And we get like this weird montage where he like goes up to all these different Batmen. Is like, will you come to my universe? And
Yeah.
they all say no.
Yeah.
Val Kilmer.
Yeah, we
George
get a CG Val
Clooney,
Kilmer.
Christian. He sees like Ben Affleck, and Affleck doesn't notice. He's
Yeah.
No.
and just
no
like
thanks.
runs back.
Yeah.
No.
End credit scene.
Yeah,
Or
well, we just kind of leave the Flash,
Yeah.
trying to find a Batman to tee up the reboot that they're
So
going to do.
this was probably my favorite. I get choked up talking about this because
Yeah.
we start on a hospital that's not burned down, and it's a busy hospital because like they're bringing in patients from the first like hospital or landlord building.
Yeah.
And the camera's low to the ground. It's dollying, arcing over into a hospital room,
Yeah.
and you see a person in bed. Cut to them like leaning over, and it's just like a dude. But this dude, then we see this actor is played by Michael Cera,
Yeah.
and he's like he's like in pain, and he's like leaning over, like his face is like leaning on the side, so we can only see like one side of his face, and we see like a bigger, older guy, kind of like bulky dude, sort of like stumble in past frame. We get a brief shoulder, and he sits down. It becomes an OTS. So this person who just walked in hasn't revealed yet, and we just hear, "You want to know how I got these scars?" But it's not the Ledger voice. it's Nicholson.
Yeah. You want to know how I got these scars?
And then Michael Cera turns over, and half of his face was burned in the hospital fire. It's Two-Face.
Yeah.
And it cuts to the reverse.
Yeah.
And you just see
Old ass Jack.
old ass Jack
Yeah.
Nicholson Joker being like, "Hi, how are ya?"
Yeah, that was the first post-credit sequence. Because then the second post-credit sequence is, it's kind of like it touches back on that Avengers with them eating like the
shawarma.
the shawarma.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just them and they're back in sort of Ted's new apartment, and he's just like trying to make some PB&J, and he's just like, "Barbara, I'm out of peanut butter." And did I get that right, Jeff? Did I get that wrong?
No.
Yeah, you got that scene right. Oh,
Yeah, and then
come in.
yeah.
It's funny you mentioned my scene in the movie.
Oh my God.
Because as you know, I slipped you the copy of the movie.
Of course, I knew it was Jack
I
Nicholson.
emailed you my EXE
Oh yes.
to make sure you could talk about my latest performance.
Jack, I've always wanted to meet you.
Mark, how are you?
I'm great. This is an honor. I loved you.
You seen the Lakers recently?
I love watching you watch the Lakers.
Some people say it's better than the game.
Jack, you've been such a good friend of the podcast for so long. I do have to ask, why us? Why were we the ones that you wanted to grace the
As you know, when I spent a few months living with Jeff there, it was a great time in my life, Jack.
Yeah.
I
It's crazy you're alive. You died in 2008.
Yeah.
This is nuts.
Resurrection's a bitch, let me tell you. There's a lot of new technology nowadays, if you catch my drift.
Sure.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink. So the peanut butter sequence, Jack, do you remember the second peanut butter sequence? This is an important sequence because it ends with
Yes.
him being like, and it's a weird note to end on
I
for the
remember.
movie, and then it just fades to black, and then the title pops up. Batgirl won't return.
Won't return.
Yeah, because what they were planning to do is in the sequel, they were setting up. It wasn't going to be Batgirl. It was going to be called Joker. And it was going to star me back as the Joker. And I was going to...
What a cool
It
idea.
was going to be me and Michael Cera. We were going to be running Gotham.
He's probably gonna be like,
You ever rub another man's rhubarb?
I guess we should flip a coin. To see if you live or die.
But they canceled the movie for James Dumb.
We've run out of ideas.
For James Dumb and Peter Suck
well,
to run DC, they canceled my movie.
Jack, thank you so much for
Jack,
coming
get the
on.
fuck out of here,
Yeah.
Jack.
Whoa,
Jack,
whoa,
I
whoa.
hate this, Jack.
I want to say thank you,
I
Jack.
gotta
for coming.
get on my plane.
Yeah,
It was a pleasure. I'm glad you talked about the movie.
that end credit scene Joker sequel was really good.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks for coming by.
Yeah.
But that's the movie.
Yeah, that's the movie. That's Batgirl.
I heard
Batgirl.
Alfonso Cuarón shot that post-credit sequence with the Joker and Sarah.
Yeah, he was supposed to direct the movie
Yeah, it was gonna be cool.
originally. But it sucks that they canceled it along with all this other DC
I
stuff.
still don't know what you're talking about, but I'm too upset to ask. Let's just move on.
We're moving on from it.
So obviously,
Fraser though, like, I mean,
yeah,
what did you
everything.
guys think?
I mean,
Here, how,
if this movie ever got released, which I know you think it did,
yeah,
it would have been his second Oscar in a row.
Yeah.
No,
So yeah, lock on supporting.
yeah,
if this came out.
lock on supporting for sure. Golden Globes maybe.
What's up?
Hey, how are you?
How's Batgirl? Fucking scabs.
Batgirl's great.
Is
It's
this
so
former
good.
guest of the podcast, Cole Bradley, zooming in?
What's that? I just wanted to say. Oh wait, you're actually recording? Fuck, I'm going away. Goodbye.
I knew he'd do that.
You were trying to get his thoughts on. Oh, I didn't send him the exe, so
Fuck him.
it is weird. It's an exe. I ran on a program file instead of a
Yeah.
video file.
Yeah.
Jack is mysterious like that.
Obviously, we don't have really much post text to talk
Yeah.
about, but this movie would have gone on to get gross like $2 billion at least.
The
At least.
if this movie
Probably
was,
the first $3 billion movie.
if this movie was allowed to release, like it would change history
Yeah.
as we know it.
Yeah.
But sadly, it isn't. Mark, do you have any final thoughts on this movie? Because there's not really much to post.
No, I don't know why all you guys have feet for hands, but we'll get into that later as well. If I've been weird on this podcast, I've just been staring at Jeff's feet on his hands, and I've been like, what the fuck is going on?
Take off your skin.
Any final thoughts besides my feet hands? I mean, this is just what hands look like.
I guess.
I was very pleased with Fraser's performance. I think they underutilized Michael Keaton a little bit, but
Yeah, I mean, he clearly wanted to only work 2 days and be killed off.
But the Nicholson cameo at the very, very end really got me.
Yeah,
Got me going.
I heard that wasn't Jack Nicholson.
Oh, it was Jack Nicholson.
No, that was just the volume. Volume played Jack.
Yeah, it's funny because Jack filmed a scene as the Joker that they then projected into the volume for the Michael Cera coverage.
Yeah.
That was Jack's big idea, was that they would shoot all of his scenes and then project them on the volume.
Okay, I have no final thoughts.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, Mars, thank you for coming by. Thank you for talking about Batgirl. Folks, we hope you enjoyed listening about
15
Batgirl.
Timers Club. What is that? I don't know.
Some number.
This is your first time on the podcast.
Oh, yeah. I should do this more often.
But this was so much fun, and we hope, and to the listener at home, we hope you learned something about Batgirl today. We hope that one day this movie gets released and that you're allowed to see it. If Warner Brothers, ever. I mean, Mark has seen it wherever he's coming from today.
This is crazy how much of expensive equipment you guys have for us to do such dumb shit like this. You guys have like all this expensive shit. We just do shit like this. This is great.
It's
Talk about important movies like Batgirl.
Crazy.
pretty fun.
Well, that is my final thought on the matter. We hope you folks enjoyed. Make sure to tune in next week for our episode on Killers of the Flower Moon. That episode's coming out next week. We're still a decent bit away from the release of that movie. We're a little banked up. But we'll be talking about that movie the week after it releases on November 3rd, which is a week away from you right now, listening to this.
Yeah.
Talking to you from the past. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. As a reminder, we're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Make sure to hit us with a like, reply, rating, wherever you're at. If you have multiple accounts, hit us with a few. We'd appreciate it.
Yeah. Final thoughts. I was a big fan of you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
My favorite of your seasons was your Tremblaying Around.
Yeah, Tremblaying
You guys
Around.
did
We might have
all
to do
those
another
short
episode on
reviews.
Batgirl for
It's
Tremblaying
great,
Around.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Please remember to follow us on social media at Travolting Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and BlueSky.
It was great
and
to have
Threads.
Stuart for the full runtime of this episode this time. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Stuart was in that chair the whole
I
fucking
was in
time.
the chair the whole time.
Great.
That's true.
We are r/Travolting on Reddit. I am at Jeff W. Sweeney on Twitter. We're also TravoltingPodcast at gmail.com if you wanted to email me, and I'll respond to you. I'll respond to anything you send me. If you send me an email, it's like, hey, what's up? I'm going to let you know.
read it.
I'll read it. Anything you guys want to plug?
No.
No, we're private people.
Private people. Final note, special thanks to Rebecca Johnson for the graphic design, Michael Van Bodegum Smith for the theme music, and to everyone involved in the Batgirl movie for letting us have some fun today. You guys did important work, and
It sucks that happened.
yeah, it's absolutely terrible
It's
that
awful.
happened. It sucks.
I hope our hard work is
This is a podcast out
able
of
to
a
be
fun.